Well, this is how the story goes. All right. Um, I got this car. My brother told me it was totaled when I asked him about it. What happened to the Chevy? He had this 55 Chevy that he got from his best friend's grandfather. I went down to where he lived, found that it wasn't as bad as he thought it was. All the damage could be repaired. And I was doing body fit work back in those days, and I towed it to my house. And with an oak tree and a jack and a lot of effort, I, out in the open, no shop, no nothing, I straightened out that front end and put on a new fender and fixed the grill, fixed a bunch of other goodies. And the car had been sitting for 2 years since it was wrecked. So I had to seal the gas tank, fix the carburetor, fix all the brakes. I got it all running good. And I told him to come pick it up. And he came without anybody to drive it home. And he handed me the pink slip. He said, if you're willing to fix it, then you can have it. So I did. And I've owned it since. My son was 1 year old. He's 33. Um, I later, a couple of years after that, I finally got it painted and driving around primered fender. I painted it in very unique circumstances. And I drove it for a long time. And when my first marriage ended, I lost everything but my 55 Chevy. But I'm not driving. And please pay no attention to the cat on the table behind me. He does his own thing. He doesn't know he's a cat. Anyway, I found him in the trunk of a wrecked car, crying, 2 weeks old, and nursed him. And there he is, 9 years old. Anyway, so let's get on with things. This Chevy, I dated my wife in it, the one I'm married to for now the last 21 years. And kids, we had my four and her two when we got together, and the car was not big enough and it didn't have a heater. And so it got parked. And that was almost 20 years ago. A couple of years ago, I got injured helping somebody. Ripped the cartilage off the ball of my hip. It was damaged. When they were replacing it, they had trouble in the surgery. My femur bone got broken. I ended up, instead of being back to work in 3 months, I didn't walk for 3 months. Didn't feel like at the time I may ever walk again, but I overcame that. And I had already previously had a knee replaced, and so legs were not there anymore. But anyway, it resulted in a year later I had to close my business down because it went downhill real fast. When you're not there to run it, it doesn't run the way you want it to run. Needless to say, I had a period of time where I felt better. I had a little spinal decompression. The hip had healed as much as it was going to heal. And the car was crying. And the guy pulled up out front and offered to buy it. And I said, no, I've been collecting things for that car for 15 years to make it a good car again someday. Not necessarily a show car, just a good driver that I could be proud of and date my wife in it again. And he said, you better get started before there ain't much left. And he was right. So I went out and I started stripping it. When I pulled the carpets back, I found definite proof that I was related to the Flintstones. I told my children, there is a little bit of floor left around the holes. I cut all that out. I saved up some money. I bought flooring, the floors, and I welded them in. And then I started working on the undercarriage. I got some things done. I got the gas tank back in. I got it sealed inside with a plastic liner. I got a stainless steel sending unit. I've got the rear end all redone, rebushed, and I put it back in. I did it all myself. I took the whole front end apart, put a whole different front end that I'd bought from a 55 Chevy guy, and I'm a Chevy guy myself, and so now I've got drop spindles and disc brake kit, and I've got tons of new parts, and I got forestalled again. I started going downhill again, and then I got to where I couldn't walk. This hip totally disintegrated. The brand new one was just falling apart, and my doctor was gone. Nobody would help me. I couldn't find any doctor that would see me. They did not want to walk into somebody else's lawsuit, basically, is the way they looked at it. I finally found, through the help of an attorney, some doctors who didn't care. They said they would help me. I got that hip fixed, and in the process, they checked my other one. It was junk because I'd been limping for years on it, They replaced that one. I started thinking now I can get back to the car, and I fell. I'd had a carpal tunnel problem in my left wrist, and so we had to do surgery on it. My hand was solid, and I tore up the rotator cuff of my right shoulder. Well, I got released from that shoulder injury shortly before Christmas. And here we are in February, and I'm saying, I'm going to get the car done. I'm going to start back on it. My low back is horrible. My doctor will not give me any more shots in it. I'm going to talk to a surgeon. I've already opted out of surgery years ago, so I'm not going to go yet. This is my last chance. I have to get this car done. I have helped a lot of people over the years. I've restored cars for other people at such low expense. Friends. I've got 3 years in one guy's Mustang every weekend. Halfway restored a Monza for a guy. I've done Ford pickups and Hondas. And here I sit, staring at mine. I welded on the roof in October, November, somewhere around there. That's as far as I got. As far as going back on it, I got to get rolling. I've got paint. I've got brand new tail lights. I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of ideas. I want to modernize this car. I don't want to get into an old vinyl 55 Chevy. I want this gray interior. I've got bucket seats that are nice. I built a couple of them from a record, taking the back of this one and the bottom of that one, and I got carpet. I got a lot of moldings and stuff. I've got a heating and air conditioning system from Vintage Air. I had a basket motorcycle here that I built for my wife. It matched my bike, but it was smaller. She said she didn't want to ride anymore, and she just ride on the back of mine, and asked me to sell it and use the money to buy the AC system. So I did. And I've done a lot, but I came to a stop, and I'm trying to get rolling again. And I kind of said around Christmas time that if it's not done by next Christmas, I'm thinking I may just put it out front for sale. I'll never get my money back out of it, and that's not what I want to do. I want to joke with my kids, who's going to get it, Dad? They're going to bury me in it. But no, I'm not. I started building a wiring harness out of a rat rod harness, which is so much like a Chevy harness. It's not funny, but I drew a big wiring diagram. I'm really good with electronics. I am a master technician, ASE certified. Well, I let those go, but I am an electrical specialist. I have worked on more computer systems. In my shop, I gave seniors discounts. I was the lowest price shop in town. I cut my labor hours down for people. I don't own a swimming pool. I don't have an F-350 and a big giant car trailer and the stuff that are the other auto shop owners in this area have. Yeah, I lived a little lower on the hog for an auto shop owner. But I couldn't do that to people. I had to give them a better price, no matter what it was. I took care of them. I'd been a sheriff's deputy before. I blew my knee out. I gave law enforcement discounts. I gave firefighter discounts. I started out when I first rehabbed my knee, which was replaced in 2007. 10 years before that, it had been rebuilt. I started out with a smog job, and I went from 8 smogs my first week to an average of 80 to 90 smogs a week for 7 years straight. I even was going down in the middle of the night to catch up. I had car lots, I had people, because I was a smog guru. I was a whiz at that stuff, and I knew computer systems. I don't know how I grabbed onto that when I started out doing modified with my next door. I was 12 years old, and I heard this car rumbling, and I was working on a bicycle for a neighborhood kid because I was the bicycle mechanic, and I ran over and saw this race car. I was into cars the rest of my life, and I'm still in cars. I just helped a lady who did do a wheel bearing, an old customer of mine. He went into a coma. He's been in the hospital for months. They were going to transfer him to a hospital further away. I taught her how to do it for some cookies. And then he died. But that's not your problem. Anyway, at least I know her car is going, and she has nobody else to do it. And, that's the kind of guy I am. Sorry. It's just hard to ask for help. But I am mega overwhelmed. So many things get in my way. Life gets in the way. All my kids have moved out. You would think that these are my golden years. Well, they'd be a lot more golden if I was driving that car, I'll tell you that. And I'm not saying I don't got good cars and all that, but I got a lot of memories in that car. And I just want to drive it again. It deserves to be driven. That's good American steel sitting out there. So whatever you can do to help me, I appreciate it. Thank you.